Hello! Today I'm going to be removing the 256GB SSD that came pre-installed with this Dell G5 15 SE5505 laptop, and I'm going to be installing two 500GB NVMe SSDs from Samsung, specifically the 970 EVOs. I'm going to start by backing up the existing SSD using Clonezilla, for which I will need to create a bootable USB stick. I'm going to be backing it up onto this external hard drive. And then once I've done that, I'll remove the existing SSD and install the two new ones. So I do recommend actually having the laptop plugged in to power while you set up your USB drive and of course back it up. However, for tidiness, I'm not going to bother doing that. I've got a full charge on this, so fingers crossed it should be alright, and if it's not, I can always do it again. Hello, Lee from the future here. Definitely plug the power in before you start, as this took an awful lot longer than I anticipated. So yeah, I did have to plug it in the end, so make sure that you do that too. So let's begin by plugging everything in. Coming at you from the future now, I wanted to say, do not plug the external drive into the right-hand USB. For one obvious reason is the right side has USB 2 ports, whereas the left side has a USB 3 port, so the speeds will be quicker if you plug it in on the left. But also, there must be some kind of problem with the USB controller on the right hand side here, because the cloning failed twice with the external drive plugged in on the right hand side. You can still plug the USB stick with Clonezilla on it into the right hand side, but make sure that you plug the external drive in on the left. In Windows, open up your browser of choice, go to your search engine of choice and search for Clonezilla. Click on the clonezilla.org link and then scroll to the bottom of the page and click Clonezilla Live. Then you want to select to put Clonezilla Live onto a USB flash drive. Microsoft Windows. Method A, manual. Download the Clonezilla Live zip file. Choose the stable build, AMD64, file type zip, and repository auto. That's all fine, just leave them on the default and click download. While you're waiting for the download to complete, you can make sure that your USB drive is formatted. The FAT32 file system works well with Clonezilla. Once the download is completed, you want to extract the contents of the zip file to your USB drive. Once everything is extracted to the USB drive, you want to go to the utils directory, then Win64. You want to right click and drag make boot 64.bat and select create shortcut here, and then cut the shortcut and paste it to the root directory of the drive, in this case F. Delete the dash shortcut from the makeboot64.bat file name. Right click on the shortcut and select Properties. Under the Shortcut tab, select Advanced, tick Run as Administrator and click OK, and click OK again, and then double click or press Enter on the shortcut to run it, and this will make your Clonezilla drive bootable. Once it's finished, press any key to continue and reboot your laptop. So once the machine restarts, you want to repeatedly press the F12 key, which will give you the boot options. I'm not sure if you can see it there on the camera. And this will allow you to boot to the USB stick that you have set Clonezilla upon. And then once in Clonezilla, you just want to choose the first option, Clonezilla Live Default Settings VGA 800 by 600. Let it do its thing. Just choose the default language, assuming that it's fine for you. Keep the default keyboard layout because who cares? Start Clonezilla. And we want to do device to image since I'm backing it up to an external hard drive. If I had an external enclosure for one of the NVMe SSDs, then I could do device to device, but unfortunately I'm working with what I've got, so it's device to image. And then I want to choose local device. You can also back up to a Windows server using Samba server option, but I'm not going to be doing that today. It will probably be quicker doing it to the external SSD. So let's choose local_dev, press enter to continue. And here it lists all the drives that it's detected. So it's detected an NVMe Samsung 256GB SSD, which is obviously the internal one. It's detected my external hard drive, and it's detected my SD card, which I don't really need to have installed right now, but that's fine. We can press Ctrl+C to continue. It says here, now we need to mount a device so that we can read or save the image. So we want to mount the external hard drive. We don't want to do a check disk before. I want to save it in a folder that I created earlier called backup. And I can press tab to go to done. Press enter to continue. I want to choose beginner mode. I want to save local disk as an image. I want to rename the image to Evan_laptop. Press enter to continue. So here it's asking us to choose the local disk as source, and we want to choose the 256GB NVMe that's inside this laptop currently. So press space to stick an asterisk in there, and then click OK, or rather press tab and hit enter to select OK. Choose compression. Well, I'll just choose the default. Choose if you want to check the repair. We can skip. After the image is saved, do you want to check if the image is readable? Yes, I do, because I don't want to be left with an unreadable image when I try and restore it later. Do I want to encrypt it? I don't need to encrypt it. I've got nothing secure on here, or sensitive in here rather. The action to perform when everything is finished, I like to have the choice once it's finished, so I'll choose the first option. Press enter to continue once more. It says, am I sure I want to continue? So just type Y and press enter. And now we wait. Right, so now the cloning has finished, we can go ahead and power off because we're going to be opening up the laptop now to install the new SSDs. And it'll count down from 7 before shutting off. Now that it is shut down, unplug everything. Not forgetting the SD card as I did on my previous video. So the first thing we need to do is flip the laptop onto its back. Take our screwdriver. If you've seen my RAM upgrade video, you already know how to remove the back. So you can skip to the time which I'll show on screen now. Otherwise, you need to remove all 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 screws. Actually, these back 4 are captive screws, so they just loosen and stay in the slot. But remove these 2, 4, 6 screws and loosen these back 4. They're all the same length, so don't worry about them getting mixed up. with all of the screws loosened or removed as appropriate, you want to grab a plastic tool. In this case I'm using a plectrum, or a couple of plectrums as the case may be. And last time I started with the side to loosen, to remove the bottom, but this time I'm going to start with the back and see how that goes. So there's some clips along the back. The most difficult ones to get are the ones in the hinge here, so I'll start with those this time and see if that makes any difference. Actually, that was a lot easier than last time, perhaps because I've done this before, or perhaps it's easier to start with these ones. Just run the tool around the edge between the black plastic and the grey plastic, and it just clicks off nice and easy like that. All the way around the edge, so the other side now. There we have it. Put that to one side. Here is the existing SSD, and here is the second slot that we're going to be installing them in. Now, I forgot to do this on my previous video where I upgraded the memory modules, but you are supposed to, according to the instructions, disconnect the battery before working inside the machine. So that is done just by removing this little connector here, and now we can continue with that done. So to remove the NVMe SSD, you just need to remove these two screws holding in the heat shield or the heat sink for the existing SSD. And that just pulls away like that. Pull this to the left nice and gently to take it out. Take one of the new NVMe SSDs and slot it in at an angle as so, making sure that you can't see any of the pins outside of the connector. And then you can take one of the screws that you've just removed from the heatsink holding the existing NVMe in, and this time, trying not to drop it, screw in your new SSD like so. And you just do the same with the second one. Now, you might be wondering why I haven't installed a heatsink on these, and that is because obviously the existing one doesn't fit, and I don't have a long one, or indeed two of them, as necessary for these SSDs. I believe you can get them from Dell, and I will have to inquire about that. But I certainly couldn't see them on the website when I was looking, so I think you'd have to phone Dell directly and ask them about it. Okay, I have to interrupt myself once again. I checked the temperatures of these drives after installing them, and under use, they reach temperatures well over the high limit of their rated operating temperatures of 70 degrees C according to the Samsung website. Since I couldn't find the required heat sinks on the Dell website, I had to phone Dell to order some. I was referred to their out-of-warranty repairs department, whom sent me a quote for two of them. For anyone else that needs to order this part also, Dell refers to them as heat pads rather than heat sinks or heat spreaders, and they quoted me £12.48 each for them, plus VAT, and £10.81 for postage. As you can see from the quotes, I also asked for the price of an upgraded 68 watt-hour battery, so get subscribed if you want to see an installation guide for that in the future. I thought that £35.76 plus VAT was a very reasonable price for a laptop battery, and ordering it at the same time as the heat pads means that I can combine postage, so it's a no-brainer. To install the heat pads, since I don't have them yet I can't show you, but it's just a case of using the screws on either end of the NVMe SSDs in the appropriate holes. Anyway, with those now installed, it's just a matter of reconnecting the battery, as so, and replacing the bottom cover. I think what's happening actually is that it's this captive screw preventing it from screwing it, from clipping in. So let's try tightening that up. Yeah, there you go. That was interesting. As you can see, that has now clipped in. Screw everything back in. Replace everything that you removed. That is, of course, including the external drive, remembering to plug it in on the left hand side so that you get better speeds and better reliability, it would seem, for reasons unknown. And the memory stick with Clonezilla on it can go anywhere you like. F12 to get into boot options, and then select the memory stick with Clonezilla on it once more. The first option, Clonezilla Live default settings, VGA 800 by 600. Wait for it to do its thing. English, default keyboard, start Clonezilla, device image, local device, press enter. Make sure that it can see all of the devices. So I can see my 2 Samsung 970 EVOs. I can see my USB storage device, and I can see my SD card, which again doesn't really matter here. So that's fine, we can continue. Now you need to select a repository for it. So select the external storage device, the main partition of the external storage device, that is. Skip checking disk, select where the image is stored, and click done. Press enter, beginner, and we want to restore a disk this time. So select restore disk, restore an image to local disk. Select the one that we saved earlier, in my case Eburn laptop. Press enter. Select where you would like to extract this image to. I'll just choose the first Samsung SSD. I'm going to skip checking the image before restoring because we checked it when we wrote it, so it should be okay. I want to choose whether to restart or shut down when it's finished. Press enter to start. Yes, I am sure I want to continue, so I press a Y and press enter. And I'm sure I want to continue once more, so Y and enter. And away we go. Once the image has finished restoring to the new SSDs, you can press enter to continue. And this time we want to reboot to make sure that everything is working. If you change your mind, you can press Ctrl C to abort, but I want to reboot, so I won't be doing that. Looks like Windows is loading. This is a good sign. Fingers crossed. And there you have it. Windows now installed on one of the 500GB NVMe drives. Now that we're back into Windows, we know it's all working, you can go ahead and remove the USB drive with Clonezilla on it, and you can also remove the external hard drive that we used to image. In Windows, go to File Explorer. If you go to this PC, you will notice that we're only seeing one of the two 500GB drives, and you will also notice that it's only showing as 238GB. This is because, one, we need to initialize the second drive, which we didn't write an image to, and two, this cloned This drive is cloned from our old 256GB SSD, and therefore it is partitioned as such. So we just need to right click on this PC, click Manage, go to Disk Management, and it automatically pops up, as you can see, Initialize Disk. So it's found it automatically. We can just leave it on the default settings, click OK, and that will initialize our 500GB disk. And with it initialized, simply right click, New Simple Volume, Next, 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 Finish. And there you go, we've got one of the 500GB disks. And to change this 238.2GB partition to the full volume, just right click and extend volume and just next, 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 finish. And there you have it. You can now see, if we refresh this PC, the operating system drive is shown as the full 465GB, and the second drive is also shown at all and at the full 465GB. And with that, thank you very much for watching. As you might have gathered by the fact that you can see my shadows now, it took an awful lot longer than anticipated, and the sun went down and had to resort to unnatural lighting. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, consider subscribing, and please, I encourage you to leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you and goodbye.